Hi, Jill. Welcome to the
Hello.
podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. We've eventually got round to doing this, Jodie.
I know I don't even know what happened the last couple of times we organised it. We were going to have a meeting and then you thought it was the podcast,
I
but
know.
we're here.
Here.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm spinning a lot of plates right now. So, yeah, being a mum and to two little children, trying to run my business, and we've had some family illnesses, and yeah,
Oh.
it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenging year, right? But also, there's been a lot to be proud of. I'm really super proud of what I've achieved and the people that I've served and the people that I've helped to transform their lives in the last 12 months. But life is just a journey as well, right? There's like highs and lows. And I think sometimes we just put that pressure on ourselves to always be in this, high vibrational state. We should always be feeling good. And if we're not, and we're waking up feeling overwhelmed or anxious feelings or thoughts, we start to put labels on ourselves. And actually, if we can just be with who we are in that moment, because it's like the weather, it's ever changing. You can feel 5 or 10 different emotions in one day.
Yeah.
Actually, to let go of that pressure and just tune in with, right, how am I feeling in this moment? And I've started to really, because I've had some challenges with family illness recently, I've had to really tap into centering myself and coming back to, this is a moment in time, this is not permanent. And I think when you do this inner work, as I do, and I practice it daily, it really helps with being able to bounce back quicker from adversity and challenges of life.
Mm. Can you tell us what the inner work is that you do? Go
Yeah.
into it, because I know I sort of, the way I came across you is because I saw you on a message board talking about inner child work, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is everything I want to dive into. But can you just give us a whole rundown of what that is, what else you do?
Mm.
Who are
Yeah.
you?
Who am I? So I'm Jill. I'm Jill Ritchie, and I have been a life and business transformational coach for just over 3 years now, Jodie. Prior to that, I was in corporate banking for 21 years, and that was
Oh,
definitely not the
wow.
dream. That wasn't the dream. My inner child did not want to be in finance for sure. Um, but I fell into it, and I definitely wanted to please my mom and have a, in inverted commas, good job that people respected, because I think, back then I sort of grew up in the 80s and the 90s where a good job, was not so much being a creative and using your imagination. Actually, in fact, it's the opposite. When I was younger, I was told that I had too much of an imagination, and I was a daydreamer, and you know, I would create, you know, plays and singing a lot and doing all these things, but it was never deemed as a real job. Yeah, like just actually stick in at school and get a job in a
No.
bank or something. So and I wasn't very academic at school, to be honest, Jodie. I was very good at the subjects like art, drama, all the being creative. Those subjects were just so much more fun to me, and I got good grades in those ones. But things like maths and history and sciences, I was like, oh my God. But I used to again have that label of, you're not very academic, and it was such a bad thing. So when I got a good job in a corporate bank, where I ended up in a senior leadership role for 16 years, and I won awards, and that was like, oh, how did you do that? You weren't very good at school. Um, and what I realized, though, when I look back and reflect on that, I was great with people, Jodie, and I always had a great way of connecting with people and seeing past the mask, seeing past who they were trying to be. And I saw much deeper into people's souls. And I see that now as a gift, because I was able to turn people around from maybe really struggling in work and struggling to get results, whether that was in sales and business, turning that round and them getting phenomenal results and creating the most amazing results and getting promotions and things. And so as a byproduct of that, I was promoted because I promoted people. And it was all because I was good with people. I saw past who they were pretending to be or who they tried to be. I always knew deep within that everyone had a gift. Everyone was unique. We just needed to tap into that potential and breathe belief. I've always been someone who wants to breathe and has to breathe belief into people that don't see it for themselves. And so I was very stressed in corporate world, and I had various different masks. I mean, I'm telling you this, I didn't know that about myself then. I just thought, I'm winging it. Someone's about to tap me on the shoulder and be like, how are you still in this job? You were really shit at school. Like, what? And so I never felt like I fitted into that world, because actually I was one of very few people that did see past the visual person and saw more into people's potential deep within. And so I felt like I never fitted in that box, and I was stressed for years and I hid it for years. And I was a mum. And again, we were talking before we started recording, Jodie, I was someone who was brought up with a lot of, strong women around me. So I felt, again, I had to have this role of being, I've had my first child and I can still work 60 hours a week. Watch me go. Yeah. It's like a badge of honor. And oh my God, I was so burned out. I was completely burned out, but I thought, I can't tell anyone because I've got this like persona of like, I'm a strong woman. So how can I say to anyone that I'm really struggling right now? And I didn't. I hid it for years. I didn't sleep for years. I used to wake up in a pool of sweat. At 37 years old, I actually convinced myself I was going through the early menopause. I'm like, it's that, rather than admit I was completely burned out and struggling with anxious feelings. There was a lot going on in my personal life at the time, but again, I never felt safe enough to be vulnerable and tell anyone, because I felt shame around it. And this is something I really work with my clients on now, is around shame, because shame, there's a difference between guilt and shame. Shame is what I felt because I was not living, I felt like deep within me, my truth is that I wasn't living my life through someone else's expectations of me. They maybe, or society, I don't know, it was like I have to be this person, and if I can't cope, I felt shame around that. And then there was guilt, because I used to just hurry up and get my kids off to nursery and take them to school, and it was as quick as I could get them into school to jump on back in my car and take a conference call or chair a meeting from my car driving into work. And I used to want to cry every day because I felt so much guilt, shame around who I was being, right? But guilt around not fully being present with my children. And there's many stories about that, where I used to look in the mirror when I came home at night and think, who even are you? Like, who even are you? So when we talked before about that balance of being a strong woman, I think back then was someone who could work 60 hours a week, have 3 children, and still look good and go to the gym and, be this, image. To me, that was so far removed of what being a strong, confident, empowered woman is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I left that job 3 years ago, and I make it sound easy, like I jumped out and then I became a coach.
What was your story? How did you go from that, being completely burnt out, but also afraid of the perception? What happened? What was that moment that you thought, I'm going to make a change?
I got into meditation, and I tell people this, and it's such a simple thing, right? I remember going to the doctors about 3 times, struggling with how I was feeling. And each of those times the doctor said to me, I'm going to, I can give you an antidepressant. And each time I said, I don't want that, because number one, I'm going to go back to the shame versus guilt thing. There was shame for me around that, because the shame was, I'm already here saying I'm struggling. I felt shame around that, and shame around taking a pill that actually, oh God, I'm a fraud. So there was an element of shame around it, but there was also this deep knowing within my soul that this was bullshit. I was like, I am struggling because I am not living in purpose. I am so disconnected from who I really am. And so surely if I take a medication, all that's going to do is give me more anxiety about being on it and shame around it. And number two, it's masking what's really going on. Surely if I can take time out and look at holistic ways of connecting back to me and centering myself, I can maybe, now I didn't know how I was going to do it, identify what the root cause is. And so I left the doctors without the medication again. And I just came across meditation, and I thought, you know what, I've heard about this. No one in my network did it. This was 3 years ago. So everyone's doing it now. And probably they were back then, but certainly where I lived and in my network of people, no one did that. So I looked up, and it was just YouTube. It was a 30 days beginners meditation. It was as simple as that. But I was committed to feeling better. I knew that I was all in. I was like, I am going to do this because I cannot continue the way I am, and I don't want to take Western medicine for it. So this was I'm doing it. I got up every morning super early before the children, because again, that was a story. I'm trying to spin these plates. I don't have time. I got up at 5:30 every morning. Wow. And I put those earphones in and I did it. That was transformational for me. And I think what that did was it opened me up enough, just enough for the universe. And I work with energy with the universe. It opened me up just enough for the universe to say, yeah, this is it. The feeling that I got from it. Some days I would sit and do it and be like, this is rubbish. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't concentrate. My mind was all over the place. But I committed to myself that I was doing it for 30 days. Then other signs started to come in, Jodie, where my partner gave me this book, and it was called The Secret. Many people have probably read it.
I love it.
And I read that, and again, first chapter, I was like, this is garbage. Like, seriously, like, you just say what you want, and it's my fault that I'm all getting all this stuff happening to me. How is it my fault? I'm a good person. I'm not asking for this crap to happen to me. But actually, when I started to keep going, I was like, just keep going, keep reading it. I thought, this is me. Like, I am the creator of my reality, and the energy that I'm giving out is what I am bringing back in. I'm a magnet for this. I was a crap magnet. And then I was like, I laughed at the end of that. I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is what I've been doing. And when all I needed in that moment was to see other people that it had worked for, because if there was evidence there, I'm like, well, if it works for her and it works for him, it's going to work for me. That's all I needed. And I just went all in. Don't get me wrong, I had imposter syndrome and all that, but I left my job with no plan B. I just said, I really journaled around it, and I got to what did I want to be when I was a child? And what did I want to do? What is my purpose in this lifetime? Why am I here? What lights me up? What really makes me feel like I'm alive? And I knew that working with people and seeing their potential and taking them from here to here and helping them transform their lives was something that I never dreamed that I could make a career out of. Because back then I thought nobody ever really likes their job. That was my belief. And so I was like, how can I do this? I've got 21 years in experience of working with people and mentoring and managing. How can I just shape it and shape my own business and do it my way? And so I trained with Mindful Talent Coaching Academy. I got my accreditation. I did Theta Healing. So I got my certifications in Theta Healing. I started working with energy, and I just really got into my flow of, and the being state, who am I being, and going back to my purpose. And very quickly, within 3 months, I had replaced my corporate income working part-time hours.
Wow. Wow. Doing all of the healing and the coaching, and that's fantastic. In 3 months.
3 months, yep.
Wow. And can you just explain what, because you said Theta Healing, and I've heard of this. Is this just energy healing, or like, could you just tell me a bit about?
It's an element of energy healing. So you basically work with really drawing energy up from, from the root, from the ground, and being almost a channel to channel energy through, to work with people to clear out any blocks, resistance, anything that people are struggling with, whether that's emotions, whether that's trauma. You can work as a channel to clear that out. So I did that, and it worked well. But what I realized is that I found my own way and method of doing it without strictly sticking to Theta. So Theta Healing is amazing because it allows you to go in, to tune in, to create that level of energy and bring it down. But there's different ways of doing it. And actually what I identified with when I had clients in front of me is I would really intuitively just know where the block was, whether that was in the throat, whether that was in the chest, whether that was in the sacral space. And as women particularly, we hold a lot in that womb space, a lot of trauma, a lot of ancestral trauma as well. And I was able to, when working with clients, just close my eyes and really tune into where those blocks were. And what I prefer to do, so I can do the work where I can act as a channel for them. But for me, what I prefer to do, Jodie, is show people how to do it for themselves. Because that way they don't need to keep coming back to me. And some people might think, well, that's your business, but we can all tap into this. And so if I can show clients how they can tap in and bring in healing, because we can all do it, to clear out that space and to connect with what is the root, what is the story, what is coming up here, identify that shadow part of themselves, shine light on it, and work and bring in the healing for themselves, then they can go and do that for other things in their life as well.
Oh, everything that you said, it's just like lighting me on fire. I'm sitting here thinking, I just want to get done with the podcast, and when can I book in for a session? Because this sounds amazing.
Do you know what it is? Because it's and if someone had told me this 4 years ago, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Because I was the most unlikeliest person to be doing this. Seriously, like, it's laughable. I laugh because I used to think people that meditated were all vegan and like really nice people and never got triggered. And again, I had so many people on pedestals. And what I've realized in this work is that these gurus, right, who we have on pedestals, they do exist. But again, we think that, I'm still triggered. I do all this work and I still feel angry and I still feel frustrated and I still feel really triggered. But the truth is we all do. And what I feel like when I work with people, I give people permission to feel all of the emotions. It doesn't matter how much inner work you do, there'll be moments that you still feel pissed off, you still feel angry. But actually, I show people how they can, number one, let go of judgment of themselves and come back to, actually, this is a part of me where I'm feeling really triggered. And I really definitely feel when people come to me to work with me, they come to me for a reason. They'll say, I really want to 10x my business, or I really want to improve my relationships with my partner, or whatever that is. when I tend to work with people, Jodie, we focus on the past, the present, and the future. Because if you go to traditional things like counselling, which, by the way, is amazing, it tends to just focus on the past. We don't actually really focus on the future. What I do is a whole holistic way of past, present, and future. We are able to go into the past and identify, right, what are these blocks? What is it that's really stopping you? And we go into you. It's almost like you meet yourself on a soul level, and that incorporates inner child work, shadow work, and healing trauma. So we focus on that. We clear that out.
Can I just quickly interrupt? Could you just quickly explain what inner child and shadow work is?
Yeah. So
just for those that don't really know.
Absolutely. Everyone has an inner child. And so most of the time, what happens is when we are struggling to move forward with something, or we fear the opinions of others, almost always there's inner child work to be done. Because when we are children, and if you think about this, you're a mum, right, Jodie?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So your child, and if you think of your child, when they are angry or when they're emotional, they'll just kick off. You know, they'll just cry and they'll feel those emotions. They're not thinking, I better not kick off, you know.
I wish you would.
We're in the middle of Tesco. Do you know what? I'm just not going to do that because my mum won't like it. You know, because to them, it's a big deal when you say, no, you're not getting that bag of sweets, by the way. They're just like, I want it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they learn as babies to express themselves. I'm thirsty, I will cry. I want milk, I'm hungry, I will cry. I'm not happy, I'll cry till you pick me up. They haven't been conditioned yet to suppress those emotions. And so, and a good example of this is when we've ever judged, and I don't know if you ever have, but I did until I knew this work, and I'm super honest about this. If I saw a child kicking off, probably before I had kids, because I now know, but I would say, oh my God, you know, they're like really spoiled, being a real brat. Like, and we get this a lot. We're like, look at them, like going mad. And then literally a minute later, once that child's had their paddy and went crazy, they'll be fine. And then what we tend to do is say, oh my goodness, I knew it. Look at that. They're just really bratty and there was nothing wrong with them, because look at them now, they're absolutely fine. But the truth is, all they did was somatic healing. So somatic healing is when you feel the emotion in your body and then you almost like use your body to express yourself. So as a child, when they're shaking their arms and legs, they are releasing that trauma, that traumatic feeling and energy from their body. You also see in animals. So a dog is a great example. When a dog has had a row, or it's been in the car, it maybe doesn't like it, or another dog's barked at it, you'll notice a dog will have a shake. You know, and the shake is to shake off the trauma. Actually, every animal does that. We, human beings, don't do it. We're the only ones that don't do it. What we've learned from probably the age of 5, 6, 7 is to suppress that emotion because we're told that's naughty. Don't cry. And again, I've done it myself before I did this work. When your child falls over, you're like, come on up, you'll dust their knees down. You're all right. Don't cry. Don't cry. Mm. And as babies, it's shh, 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 don't cry. Shh, 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 shh. So we learn crying is bad. Feeling angry is bad. I will suppress this emotion because I want to be a good girl or I want to be a good boy. You know, mum's not happy, dad's not happy. You know, we'll come in singing. We're told, shh. I can't, stop it. I can't concentrate, or I'm watching this, or shh, stop it. So we go, oh, mum's angry, dad's angry, I better not. So again, we suppress that emotion, right? So we learn as children to suppress our emotions and not speak our authentic truth. We learn to people please. You know, mum says do this, dad says do that. I need to impress them. I don't want to get in trouble at school. So we have just learned these behaviors. And so that is why so many of us never show up authentically or never really want to say how we feel or speak our truth because we've lost our authentic voice at such a young age. So inner child work is about going in and really identifying when it started, where it came from. And now it's not about blaming mum or dad, right? Because they did what they thought was best. They learned from their parents. And that old expression, when my mum was a child, it was children should be seen and not heard. I mean, it's wild, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's wild, but that comes through the ancestral bloodline, that we learn to be seen and not heard. So many of us don't speak our authentic truth because of fear. But when we go in to either a traumatic experience, and trauma is different things for different people. Trauma can be, for one child, severe abuse. For another child, it can be mum or dad not coming to comfort them after a bad dream and feeling scared. And I say to people, because many adults diminish their trauma because they'll say, I shouldn't complain because there's so many other children that have had a really terrible upbringing.
Yep.
But actually, trauma is different, and we should never diminish our trauma. And actually, when we go in and do this inner child work, we're able to identify where it started, where it came from. And what we do is we bring in the adult version of ourselves to comfort that child. Because it's safety that you need, it's understanding, it's safety, it's listening to and just checking in with that inner child and finishing the experience perhaps the way it wasn't, or it maybe should have been done but wasn't in the past.
Wow. That's so profound. I mean, I'm sitting here as well just thinking not only of myself but also of things that I'm doing as a mum. Do you think we are going to traumatize our kids no matter what we do?
Yeah, it's done. It's done. Honestly. And I had to really try and square this off because I had, again, going back to guilt and shame, I had guilt more around it because shame around certain things because I parented my children the way I believed I should parent. The whole be quiet, don't speak back to me, you're not allowed to speak back to adults. Actually, what we're saying to them is you're not allowed an opinion, right? So they're learning, I'm not allowed an opinion. Now there is a balance, right? Because if we let the inner child or we let the child run the show, it would be a shitstorm, right? So
yeah,
but it's more around, I was definitely more of the dominant parent. I wasn't super strict, but I was like, that's just the way it is. Mum and dad decide what happens. Ow, and I cringe, even as I still say it to you, Jodie, I get the ick. I'm like, I've had to actually go in and do this work on myself. A lot of inner work around how I parented then versus how I parent now. And I think, will I have, and me and my partner, we do parent different now. But yeah, I think there's always going to be things that impact our children. We try our best, right? But there's going to be things that, and I think if it's coming from a place of love a lot of the time, but it also comes from a place of fear. We sometimes put fear into them, don't do that because you will be hurt or this will be happening.
Yeah. Or frustration.
So, I know, frustration.
Like, I've asked you really nicely 20 times now.
I know, and that's the thing. And listen, do I shout? Have I shouted? Yes. And that's what I want to say to people is when we, especially Jodie, when we're in the personal development world, we try and always be like the best we can be. I shouldn't shout. We're human beings. We're going to lose it sometimes.
I'm so pleased you said that.
Sometimes our children can be really, really naughty. Like my oldest, who's 10 next week, he can really press my buttons, and I have got to sometimes be like, walk out the door and shut the door and be like, because, for 38 years of my life, I wasn't operating this way. Yeah. So the old parts of me are like, I never spoke to my mum like that. You're so cheeky, you get everything.
Yeah.
And you do, and the funny thing about being a parent is, it's not even funny, it's hard going. It's in one way, and we hear a lot of people, you know, we see them on Instagram, it's like the perfect mum. And you know what? It's great to be able to be fully present and be with your children, but it's also, and it's such a rewarding job, but sometimes it's very thankless as well. And I know that might be controversial, but because sometimes they're the only, I always say that to my sister, your children, for me, are the only ones that you would let them away with what they get away with. They're the only ones that would get to react to you in that way and to speak to you in that way, with, you know, because anyone else, I would be like, oh yeah, that's not happening, you're done, the boundaries. But yeah, it's that unconditional love though, isn't it? We do our best.
I said to a friend the other day, it's like being in an abusive relationship. Like you get absolutely, like, you just sort of, you get such abuse, but you can't leave because you love them so much.
I know.
And it's just like, why do I love you so much? Because you're driving me crazy. And like, my toddler's like hitting and spitting now. And I'm like, what kind of a mom am I that I've raised a hitter and a spitter? I'm like, it's okay. Let's just do it differently. Oh.
And you do. And the thing is, like, that's it. It's the most rewarding job, but also the most thankless job at times. It is. And I'm being honest, and I am very honest with how I say it, because I think people sometimes look at me, unless they know me or they've worked with me, and they'll think, oh, you know, I bet you've got it all together. I bet you never. I'm like, I do. I mean, if I've got to tell my kids once or 100 times to get their shoes on, and when we're late for school and we're you know, going down in the car, probably breaking a speed limit, trying to get them into school, and the stress, right? And the interesting thing is, when I was in corporate, I was, you know, like that, but I had so much guilt and shame around that. Whereas now I know I'm doing the best I can. Back then I was doing the best I could, and what I believed I could do and the capability that I had. Because back then I didn't believe that I had choices. I didn't. I thought, if I want to give my kids everything, you know, they want nice things, and kids do. They're always like, can I get this? Can I get another game? Can I get that? Oh my goodness. And I thought, if I have to sacrifice me. I have to work these hours and be this person to give them everything that they want. But I was so deeply happy. But now I actually put myself first in a lot of ways. And again, it was a concept that I never understood before, because I was growing up. When I grew up, it was, when you have children, you no longer matter. You know, you're last on the list. Your children must come first. Don't get me wrong, my children, I love them unconditionally, absolutely. But I put me first a lot of the time now. It's not that I put them last. It's just, if I prioritize my needs in terms of self-care, I show up a stronger, more grounded, balanced, calmer mum. Versus when I didn't do that, I was psychotic.
Yeah, I hear you. Totally. And then, is this, to sort of jump back a little bit, is the inner child work the same as the shadow work? Or does
Similar.
it differ?
Shadow work tends to be, they cross over a lot, but shadow work can be when we're triggered, you know, when we judge, you know, when we're judging people, and we've all done it, you know, on Instagram, if we see someone putting something on or it triggers us, that's when we tend to go in and look at the shadow parts of ourselves. And these shadow parts are the parts that we tend to hide, because again, we hold shame around them, because we're not supposed to judge people, we're not supposed to be angry, we're not supposed to talk about people, we're not supposed to gossip. And actually, anger, judgment, fear, these are all normal emotions. What's not normal is when we think it's not normal to have it and we start to judge ourselves.
You almost go in a spiral.
Yeah, we do. We loop and we leak toxic energy because we are judging ourselves. And actually, the shadow parts are often mirrors. You know, when we judge someone or when we're feeling anger, it's a really great way to work on our triggers and to come into the self and say, right, okay, what is this situation or this person mirroring back to me. And it might be that we don't want to be like them, but they're showing a quality that we want to have. And actually we do have, but we've actually hidden it, or, you know, we're not really looking at it. So it's really good to actually go in and identify that shadow part. Like, where's the darkness? What's the deep darkness? And again, going in and identifying, where is this anger coming from? Almost always it is shame, blame, something that's happened in our past. And it's important, really important, to do shadow work, because when we can shine light on that part of ourselves without judgment, we almost see it's that little child again. You know, it's like if your child comes to you and they're angry, you would never, you know, push them away, or they're upset, but we push ourselves, we push those emotions away from ourselves all the time. We are all sides of a diamond, you know, and a lot of the time we're fragmented, and we need to just look at those parts of ourselves, and instead of judging them, sit with the emotion and feel it. Actually, I'm judging because I'm jealous. I'm really jealous. But again, we hold shame around saying the word jealous. We're like,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'm judging her because I'm so jealous right now. But that stirs up, that makes people go, oh, I don't want to go there. But actually, if you go there, it's in there, it's in you. It's not like you're bringing it externally in and you're allowing, because people go, I don't want to allow that emotion in. It's already in you. You're not allowing anything in. What you're doing is you're just holding space for it and saying, I'm really jealous because she's really annoying me, because I want that. I want that. I want to be able to do all those things. I don't want to be her, but I want to be able to do all those things. Journaling's a great exercise for shadow work as well. Just journaling it out and keeping on going. You might get like 5-6 pages, but what almost always comes out at the end is a sense of calm and peace and release, being able to release it. Because if you don't do like shadow work or go in and just meet those parts of yourself with compassion and love, even the dark parts of yourself, you're just suppressing more emotions, which then manifest in illness. You know, it shows up in your body, whether that's your skin, autoimmune, you know, problems with your cycle. I know you talk a lot about cycle. A lot of it is so much suppressed, repressed emotion in your body. And I know this firsthand because when I've done this work, and I mean, I've spent tens of thousands of pounds working with people to really pull out all those parts of myself, and not to push them away, to actually embrace them and love all sides of myself, because that's what real self-love is, loving your whole self, dark parts and all. When you do that, it dissolves. It's like, I don't need to fight you anymore. It just pops up and, oh, there's anger. Okay, anger, what's the message today? Oh, there's fear. Okay, fear, right? Okay, what's the message today? I'm going to put my hand on my heart, right, fear? What do you want to tell me today? I want to tell you, I want to keep you safe, and that's, you shouldn't be doing that. Right, okay, I hear you, but you know what? I've got this. And I think when we get to know ourselves more, rather than externally looking for external things to fix ourselves, come back in and get to know yourself on the deepest level, rather than looking externally for things to fix you when you're not even bloody broken.
Wow. That is so powerful. It's so powerful. I often say this, you know, to clients, that obviously I do the nutrition side of it, and I say, you know, we've got to get the foundations in, and that can move mountains for sure. But I almost feel like now you've got the nutrients in your body and you fed your body. Now it's time, like, if you want to go that step further and you need to, you know, you want to really heal yourself, you've got to do that inner work, because otherwise you're just kind of coasting in life. I think it's so important, and you've just given me goosebumps. I think just hearing that, and hearing, you know, from you saying how much our mind and our shadows and the darkness and the things that we repress can come out as illness, we've got to start addressing them.
Oh, my hair used to fall out, Jodie.
Wow.
My hair used to fall out. I always know when there's work to be done. I always get a lower back pain. So if I'm not spending enough time in my feminine energy and I'm in my masculine too much, I get lower back pain. So I know.
Yes.
I'm like, here we go. Too much in the masculine, need to be in the being, because when we're in the being state, we start to manifest much quicker. And we think we need to be in the doing, do. We don't. The universe is perfectly balanced with masculine and feminine energy. It's us. It's, we take on stories, we take on roles. And actually, if we can have a real balance of masculine and feminine energy, that's where the magic really, really happens. You hear about people that say, oh, I manifested this and I was just chilling out, or I was just doing that. I'm like, yeah, because you were just in flow and you were just in your being state.
Yeah, totally. We're so in our masculine. It's almost like we feel that in order to shift things, we've got to get more masculine. Like if work isn't happening, or if we're feeling stuck, we feel like we have to do something to shift this. But I had a mentor that just sort of said, "What, like, go and do something that you enjoy. Just get out." And there was just this fear around this, like, I can't. I've got to do something. She's like, no. And then things started to flow. And I couldn't quite believe it, but yeah, we are, as women, I really feel like we're lacking in sort of knowing it's okay to be in our feminine energy.
Of course
Yeah.
it is okay. Of course it is okay, but it does go back to, and I work with a lot of women who are very in their masculine energy, and because there's such a fear around being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is a huge thing. But I know when I got vulnerable, I believe when I started to really speak my truth and just be like, this is me and this is how I'm feeling. And I believe that's how I created my business so quickly, because I started speaking my truth.
I love that. Well, they say that thyroid issues, which is one of the most common conditions with women, is all to do with that blocked inner voice, that not speaking your truth, which is so interesting. I feel like before I let you go, because I could quite honestly sit here for days talking about this. Like every time I say something, I'm like, I've got to ask you this, I've got to ask you that. But I do need to come back to when I interrupted you first. And you were talking about how when people work with you, a lot of traditional therapies go into the past. And that was when you were saying it's really important to go into the past. And then I was talking to you about the inner work and the shadow work. And you were going to say something that you do afterwards. Could you round that up for me, please?
Yeah. So I typically work with people and we focus on the past. And when I say that, because people tend to go, oh, I don't want to do this in our child, like a lot, especially women in their masculine, they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to get straight to the honey pot. But actually, we're sprinkling unicorn glitter over a pile of shit, right? We need to get to the past, because what we can do is we can pull out those roots and shine light on them. It's like, do we need this anymore? Or is this just not even your stuff? And then we can clear it. And then we work on the present, right? Where are you right now? What's happening in your life right now? And what do you really want to focus on? What is important? What is your why? A lot of people say, what is my why? But actually, I go 7 layers deep. So when someone tells me what their why, I'm like, right, okay, so let's go deeper. And to the point that it's your soul that's connected. And then we focus on manifesting from a place of purpose, because that's when it's easy. I've had people that have manifested the most incredible things in a matter of weeks when they're manifesting from a place of truth and purpose. And that's what we want. We want people to, no matter what, ultimately when people work with me, I want them to, when challenging things come into their life, which they do, because just because you've done this work, it doesn't make you immune to difficult things in your life happening to you. But what we want to get you to a point is where you are okay. Like, you're like, this is happening, but it's not triggering me as much, and I know I'm going to be okay, and I can still have fun even though there's difficult times. I can still manifest all these things. And it's with ease and truth. And authentic success for me is something that is huge, because I think a lot of people want to get success, but they think to get success they need to be someone else or speak someone else's language. I show people how to get authentic success in life and business, being themselves, their true self.
Powerful stuff. It's
Thank
amazing. Everything you're saying is just like, it's speaking to my soul. Just
you.
love it. I love it. And I remember when I spoke to you before, you were talking to me about vision boards, and you said you've got your vision board up and it's all come true and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think does everyone need to do this work?
I think everyone does. I think I would love everyone to do it. Not everyone is willing to do it. But if you want more of everything and being able to let go of fear and, resistance and anger and judgment, of course these things will still come in, but you will be more resilient, you'll bounce back quicker. I believe everyone should do this work. It's an inside out job. Of course it is. If you think about it, even logically, it's an inside out job. The vision boards are incredible. I have manifested. I do a vision board every single year. And honestly, everything on that vision board comes true, because what you're doing is you're looking at that board. I look at that board every morning, and I used to spend like 10 minutes on it. Now it's maybe 2 to 3 minutes. I can tune right into it. And I bring myself into the energy of having those things, of in that being state, because everything is energy. If you are trying to attract more money, you're trying to call in the love of your life, or create better relationships with people, or manifest a new home, you cannot manifest from a low level energy. It's like trying to tune the wrong radio station, and the frequency has to be a match, okay? And it's the same with us. If you want to be that version of who you want in the future, you need to start feeling that. And the best way and quickest way to start feeling it is to have images. For me, I work with images really well, is to, see yourself in that home. What does the floor, is it tiled floors? Is it wood? Are you living near a beach? What does it look like? Or being on that holiday, or having that, being fully booked with clients, or working with, certain types of people, or writing for magazines, whatever that is. It is visualizing the feeling of having it. If you had it, what would that feel like? And if you can feel a feeling, if you think of a thought which creates a feeling, and you have it for more than 58 seconds, it becomes a dominant thought. And when it becomes a dominant thought, obviously you're feeling it more, and more you tap into that, you're an energetic match for what you want to manifest. The universe isn't going to just send you something that you aren't ready to receive.
Love it. I love this so much.
Yay.
And because I guarantee that people are sitting here listening to this or watching this and saying, I need to do this work. I want to work with Jill. Where can they start, and where can they find you, and what is next?
So I tend to hang out on Instagram, or, I am on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Instagram tends to be the place I am most. So it's at Just Jill Coaching. But I'm actually launching, seamless plug, I'm not plugging, honest. I am actually launching a new course called The Empowered Woman. And it's a 10-week deep dive intensive. And it is about basically everything that we've talked about, working on the past, the present, and the future, and manifesting from a place of truth and purpose, and finding your authentic voice and authentic success. So, but even if the course isn't for you, but you just want to connect, just come and connect. What you'll always get with me is truth and authenticity. I don't pretend to be, a floaty dress and, always, completely at one with nature and peace. I'm very balanced. And I say to people, you can still drink wine, dance on tables, have fun, and do this work and be an amazing manifester. You don't need to completely change your personality. And I think that is relatable for so many people, because I think so many people want to do it, but they're scared because they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
You can have all of
I
it
hear that.
without having to sacrifice the parts of you that you really do like.
Amazing. Amazing. So you're on Instagram. Do you have
And
a
I've
website?
got a podcast as well, actually. I'm just
Yes, you do.
so the
What's the
podcast
podcast called?
it's called She Loves Herself.
Amazing.
And it's all about embracing vulnerability and loving yourself, like on the deepest level, and just speaking your truth. But I'm just about to start recording season 3 for that. So that's exciting.
Oh, fantastic. And when does this new course start?
The new course starts on the 1st of July. So I only launched this yesterday. And I say to people, if you do want to do it, it's not going to be a load of people. For me, that deeper work requires an intimate space and a safe space. I've got lots of other courses. You know, I work very closely with my amazing friend Lynette Gray, and we have a number of courses. We've got 10 weeks to 10K, where we help people create online businesses, and they generate £10,000 months in just 10 weeks without a mailing list, without paid ads, and just, you know, none of that fluff. You know, we show people how to do it authentically, because we did that. We actually were, and again, this goes back to manifest, and Lynette and I created a course in June. We launched it in June. We started it in the 1st of July. And by the 1st of October, we had generated 100K in just 3 months. And that was, that honestly, Jodie, that's not about bragging. It's not about saying, oh, I did 100K in 3 months.
No, it's about showing that you can tap into this and
Absolutely.
it flows. Yeah.
Authentically, we did no paid ads. We had no mailing list, and we didn't have huge social media followings. So we're now showing other people how to do that. And I think that's the thing. People look and go, well, I see these other people doing it and it's amazing, but they've got 100,000 followers and they've got blue ticks. I'm not them. So how am I going to generate these 10K months that everyone talks about? So Lynette and I created a course called Unearthed, and that actually starts in August. The Empowered Women is run by me, and I'm only looking for 8 people, 8 women who are ready to do the deep dive. So it's different again from Unearthed. And so, yeah, there's a few courses, but the Empowered Women is the one that is the kind of deep dive.
Amazing. So if you want it, everybody, get in there quickly.
Yeah, and I do, again, I'm speaking to people individually, like one-to-one calls with them to see if they're ready, because it's not for everyone, and I don't take everyone through because not everyone's ready to do that level of work, and that's okay. There's other courses that they can go and do, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, thank you so much. This has been one of the best chats, and it's so lovely to connect properly and get this message out there.
Yeah. Authentic voice, authentic success, yeah, and embracing all sides of yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.